ईश्वरो मेति मूर्तिभेद विभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ओम शांति शांति शांति। श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम तत्सत्। So we are looking at this verse. बोधात् पुरा मनोदोष मात्रात् क्लिश्यस् शताधुना अशेष लोक निंदा चे त्यहोते बोध वैभवम. Before this, in the 55th one, बोधाद्वैत स्वतत्वस्य यथेष्टाचरणं यदि शूनां तत्त्वदृशां चैव को भेदो सूचिभक्षणे. This is a very powerful mantra, shloka here. And this is quoted from the great Sureshwaracharya, because the doubt in the mind of the student is that if Manorajya is only limited to my mind, I'm not hurting anyone, I'm not killing anybody, I'm just daydreaming or fantasizing. And then the Shastra says that a person who is established in the Atmajnana, for him Vidhi Nishedha doesn't apply. What is Papa, what is Punya for a person who is already an Atmajnani? Now here he's making a very strong snide remark on anybody who claims to be a Atmajnani, and after claiming to be an Atmajnani, he is interested in, or he is seen to be indulging in Jatheshtacharana. Jatheshtacharana means not as per the scriptural injunctions, not as per what morality demands, but whatever comes to his mind, he is able to do it. And then he says, it doesn't apply to me because I'm an Atmajnani. In this context, we have done the Kalyana Piyusha Vakya. Here, there is one small interesting thing in the Ramakrishna Tika. The whole thing is like this, that look, ज्ञानामृतेन तृप्तस्य कृतकृत्यस्य योगिनः नैवास्ति किंचित कर्तव्यम अस्ति चेन्न स तत्त्ववित्. Now this is the context in which a person may start indulging in Jatheshta Charanam, saying that I am Atmajnani, nothing applies to me. The argument goes like this. Jnanamritena triptasya. The person who is satiated, completed, accomplished, is established in the self with the nectar of self-awareness or atmajnana. Kritakrityasya yoginaha. Whatever remains to be done, he has already achieved this. He said kritakritya means whatever is kartavya has been done by him. He is full with it. There is full and final. There is no more any attraction. That kind of a yogi, that means that a person who is fully integrated with the spiritual goal and is fully there at the destination. Na eva assi kinchit kartavyam. There is nothing more for him to do. There is no kartavya bodha that I have to do it. There is still a lot of work for me to do. He will only do it for loka kalyana, or he would do it out of compassion for others. There is no karmic pressure on him. Because why? Because he doesn't have karta bhukta buddhi. Who would do anything? Only when who has a kartatva buddhi. Where from it would come? When there is some kind of a ahang buddhi. I am this. There are a set of goals that I still need to achieve. Does it mean a fully self-realized soul is without a purpose? You can say in a very paramarthika way, in an ultimate sense, yes, he is without any purpose, because purpose means some kind of a movement, some yearning, some kind of a karmic tension in his consciousness. There is no karmic tension whatsoever in the fully realized soul. Does it mean he turns extremely lazy? No, but if you look at the lives of Buddha, if you look at Shankaracharya, you look at Swami Vivekananda, all these realized souls were doing a lot of things. But were they doing it out of any ahambodha, that I want to achieve and there is something to be done? He's saying, Asti chet na sattvatved. if a person still thinks I have to, that means you complete everything, then take Sarva Karma Sannyasa. If you still have some karmic pressure, then you are not an Atmagyani, you are not a Tattvavid. Now, in that context, in the verse number 55, that is why he is explaining so beautifully, because there could be some kind of a tension that there is no kartavya. That means I can do what I want. That is a wrong interpretation of it. Therefore, the Tika he mentions very beautifully, he says that look, if there is a person who indulges in whatever comes to his mind according to his whims and fancies without paying attention to whatever is actually spiritually prescribed, yeah, what kind of a person is he saying? Janavanchaka Chakravarti. He's somebody who's like an emperor of liars. He's an emperor who has perfected the art of cheating others. Chakravartinah kinchit sastra sanskara. He has a little knowledge, behaves like as if he's already, Maharaj. He's already established, he's a jnani. Salinah sampradaya shurya dhukasya kamukasya eva kasya chiditi suchayan yathesta chestadi. Then he's saying, whatever, all kinds of things are there. Whatever one shouldn't do, he may either yearn to achieve it or by his whims and fancies you may do it. But he's saying, if you are actually, if you're still interested in any of these things, then the Naiskrima Siddhi Vachana that we studied in the verse number 55, that he mentions here, and that is very relevant. Now, there is another beautiful shloka which the author of Panchadashi, in the beautiful book called Anubhava Prakasha, Anubhuti Prakasha, he writes, Kincha punya radaha purvam jnanam apnoti nanyatha, Kincha punya radaha purvam jnanam apnoti nanyatha. A papi, somebody who is trapped in loads of criminal activities or unethical activities, one fine morning, he renounces and goes and sits on a hilltop or joins some kind of a monastery, and after a little time, maybe a couple of years, 3 years, 4 years, and claims that I'm already established in the self. There are quite a few people like that you can find out. But the Shastra says, in Anubhuti Prakasha, which is very much focused on Vedantic sadhana, he says, Kincha punya radhaha purvam jnanam apnoti nanyatha. Only a person who has been engaged in punya karmas to the benefit of his family, the benefit of his friends and relatives, much more than that, for the benefit of society, he engages in a lot of charitable activities, spiritual activities. He has been perfecting his antakarana through nishkama karma, upasana, yeah, and yoga. Whatever has been discussed in Bhagavad Gita in chapter 3, 4, 5, and 6. He has perfected all that. And he has also been doing Shravana Manana Nididhyasana. He starts doing it after taking Sarva Karma Sannyasa because he is a Punyavan. There are two things which is working in favor of a person who embarks on Jnana Marga. If somebody hasn't properly done his Karma Kandas, whatever, or the Upasanas, or the Nishkama Karma, Nishkamateya Karma, whatever you are doing without any craving for results, if he has not been a good person, an ethical person, he embarking on Shastra Jnana, embarking on reading and commenting on Shastras, will not get the gist of it. He'll not go to the heart of it. Then, therefore, he's saying he must be Punya Rataha, Purvam. Before that, he was already busy in spiritual activities. Now he has matured. In fact, a person's Vairagya or turning towards Advaita Vedanta is a symbol that this fellow must have done a lot of Punya Karmas, and therefore he finds this Advaita Vedanta interesting. Otherwise, he would not find it interesting. He will not have any appetite for this sort of an attitude. Nanyatha. Paschacha tadavasanaya punyam eva karatyasau. And what happens once he becomes a sannyasi? He'll start doing papa karmas. No, Bhagavad Gita says Vidheyatma. There's a very tiny, beautiful, tiny book. If you ever put your hands on it. It's a beautiful book called The Mind of Swami Vivekananda by Gautama Sen. It was very popular among some of our students in Ramasa College. Beautiful, very small book if you find it. There he writes that in a chapter on Karma Yoga, he writes, he quotes a passage from Lao Tse. And Lao Tse somewhere says that when I was about 20, I realized that my mind wanders. And it took a few years, in fact, over a decade, to discipline my mind to figure out what is morally correct. And I successfully embarked on a phase of life where I was able to guide my mind towards ethical actions and thoughts at about 50. Then he writes, when I reached 70 through the sadhana, I observed my mind was unable to transgress the domain of what is moral and ethical. So that is the last stage where, when a mind, even if in your deep sleep, even in your normal days, you may not be doing anything significant, in a very adverse situation, your mind will refuse to embark on something unethical, something immoral. The system will not permit it. And therefore, in that sort of a stage, this person, after Atmajnana, he has realized there is no kartabhya buddhi after that, there is no vidhi nisheda. Will he become a jatheshtachari? No. He's saying paschacha tadavasanaya. Again for punya, because being good has become his second nature. He cannot say goodbye and indulge or go back to his past ways. And you're saying that even earlier he must have been a punyatma, he must have been a good guy. Therefore, he's saying, Punyam eva karoti asau. That fellow will continue to do punya karmas. He will help others. He may not need anything for himself. It's not that he wants to go to Swarga Loka. He wants wealth and privileges and attention for himself or his followers or his ashram. But by very nature, he continues to commit what is morally correct. And if he doesn't do so, what is he? He's essentially somebody who is trying to cheat others. Therefore, he's saying, Bhagwan, Sureshwaracharya says, Buddha Dvaita Swatatasya Yatheshtacharanam Jadi. If an Atmagyani indulges in Swechachara, Sunam Tattvadrasang Shaiva Koveda Suji Vakshane, because this sort of a Jnani and you have the dog, they both consume dirt. What is the difference? What is the difference between a dog and Atmagyani? If both of them are moved by these three powerful emotions, Ahara, Maithuna, Nidra, what is the difference? Therefore, in the 56, he warns the sadhaka. He says, look here, if at all you are trying to justify your previous inclination in whatever fashion, because you are saying, I'm directly interested in Videha Kaivalya. Why don't you grant me some Ahika Sukha or Ahika Kama? They let it continue. I'm not going to come back, so I'll have Videha Kaivalya. He says, no, you are cheating. If you are able to sacrifice Swarga Sukha, why are you so much obsessed with these worldly pleasures? What holds so important? What holds your attention? What is so important in it? And if there is something important which holds your attention, if you tell me you are not interested in Swarga Sukha, why should I believe it? Because after Swarga Sukha, if you have some punya, you will come back to get another round of pleasures here. So come back. Why are you trying to cheat me? Bodhat pura manodosha matrat klishyasyatha dhuna. You know how much klesha you are having because of this manodosha. Everything, all mano eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayo, whether it is liberation or bondage, is all the mind at the end of it. So the frailties, the weaknesses, the tightness that in the Buddhist language, the tightness in our consciousness that we experience prior to Atmajnana, Bodhat Pura, and we are suffering now. And after Atmajnana, who wants to again pick up the cudgel and suffer again? Then he's saying, Asesa Loka Nindache, Tyahote Bodha Vaibhavam. He's saying, oh, what a great thing you're going to do. You have got Atmajnana and you want to indulge in the same thing. Now we'll graduate to the verse number 57. Evam krutva upahasam srihud bhutva upadishati viditi. Now, this particular acharya is full of compassion. A good acharya. There is a beautiful story in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad which Bhagavan Bhashyakara gives to explain what is the role of an acharya in the lives of a student of Vedanta. Now, what happens is that there is a guy from Gandhara, Afghanistan. He has come to, let's say, the heart of India, maybe Uttar Pradesh, and so some dacoits sort of attack him, and then they snatch away all his belongings. They tie his hands and legs. Hmm? These are all indriyas, nothing else. These are indriyas only. They tie him up. They don't kill him. They don't kill him, and they leave him aside, and he's abandoned. Then he regains his senses, and he finds his hands and legs are all tied up, and they have put some cotton in his mouth, so he can only grumble. He can make some suppressed noise. He cannot shout. He cannot speak. And then, with some kind of a parama karunika, a very compassionate, kind guy, sees him lying on the floor in the jungle, on the ground, comes and releases him, frees him from the bondage. And then he says, "Where is my house? Where do I?" He says, "Where are you from?" He says, "I'm from Gandhar, Afghanistan." "Oh, you are from Gandhara Desha. It's towards the northwest." And that Acharya leaves, that fellow leaves. And then he goes on asking this question, what is the way to Gandhara? And slowly keeps walking. After a few days or many days, he finally reaches his village. That village is symbolically Atmagyana. The first guy who comes and releases him, unties the burden in which is placed in that jungle is the Acharya. He comes and says, "Where are you trapped? You are not this body, you are not this mind." So these Upanishad Granthas, these Prakarana Granthas, these are the words of Acharyas. They come through people to us, and then they tell us, "Oh, you are trapped in this kind of a dungeon you call your life. No, but there's light outside. Why can't you come out of it?" He's saying, therefore, having laughed at the guy who is still having a bit of inclination towards the desires for worldly pleasures, he's saying, don't do it. In the verse number 57, he says, what? Vidvarahaditulyatvam makankhistatra vidbhavan sarvadhi dosa sangtyaga loke pujyasya devavat. Vidvaraha. Vid is actually, night soil, excreta. And Varaha is this wild boar. So Vid Varaha is Grama Shukara, the pigs that you see, swine. Vid Varahadi Tulyatvam Ma Kankshi. Don't ever aspire to be like a pig. You know. So while giving us teaching about Vedanta, our Param Pujya Guruji in Kailash Ashram, Divyananji Maharaj always cites one example, and it's a very a thing which will offend you. It will psychologically unsettle you because it will put a question mark on everything we call love. He says a lot of people glorify love. Have you seen while going to the Ganges? There is a particular area where they dump all the municipal waste, so you see a lot of pigs assembled there to feed on all these municipal waste. And you say, have you ever looked at those pigs who are lying there? So, how the male pig, drenched in mud and dirt, smelling very bad, lovingly and affectionately looks at the she pig with a lot of love. Have you ever looked at that? Yeah, you might find her very dirty, but he finds her very beautiful, and she finds him very handsome. Now, the pigness of the pig here is the sansari qualities which human beings have, and one person trapped in samsara finds another person of the opposite sex very attractive. But the way you don't value the pig's love for the she pig, the jnani doesn't add any value to the cravings we have in the domain what we call sansara. It's not that sansara is nirarthaka, it's very, very sarthaka for the people who are kind of trapped in the mud and dirt of the sansara. And they feel a powerful attraction for whatever excites them or tempts them or enthuses them to live a life. It's very interesting for them. Therefore, he's saying, Vidvarahari tulyatvang ma kangshihi. So these desires that you are having, that's very common, whether it's a dog or a cat or an elephant or even a pig. All of them have desires about what? Food, copulation, sleep. It repeats day in, day out till all these animals, including we humans, abandon this body and go. There are more interesting things that we do because we have the unique privilege of asking questions about what is the meaning of life, what is the purpose of life, why am I doing this, am I finding something very interesting in this, or is it very repetitive? When I'm saying this, let me tell you, there are a few Western philosophers who, in fact, glorify whatever is otherwise very meaningless. Yeah. So there is this French philosopher called Deleuze. He says, yeah, but many things in life which are very repetitive, you can actually find a lot of novelty in it. You watch the sun in the morning, but every day what you see is not the same sun, and every day is not the same day. Every damn thing you repeat every day is not a thing which has no new meaning. So he sort of glorifies your own attention and your approach to things and celebrate life. Good enough. That's not a problem. But at the same time, you also had a German philosopher called Heidegger, very critical, controversial, difficult to understand. He says that somewhere is a little like Shankaracharya. He says you have to accept, whether you like it or not, the givenness of your existence. And the givenness of your existence has a lot to do with something specific around you. You don't relate to life as life. There's nothing called life as life. There is something called you dealing with the existence of your wife, your children, your job, your people, and institutions. So there is a contextuality which sort of decides what we understand by life, how we respond to it. So there is something significantly definite around us. It's not very abstract, it's something very real in our everyday lives. Then, once we accept it, then we can look for meaning to elevate our consciousness, to figure out what is the goal of our life, what is the purpose of our life. Whatever be the conclusion or the intention of these otherwise very, very interesting philosophers, the critical thing which is advised by Vedanta is on the other extreme. He says you may dwell on the details of life, how much more you want, go on, take your time, indulge with all this, but please understand what sort of details are elevating your consciousness and what sort of details of life are entrapping you. So, the paths which actually seek to elevate our consciousness are what are described in Bhagavad Gita as conscious engagement in work, certain dedication, full enthusiasm, with a sense of to this, not for any benefits to us, but in order to purify your consciousness. That's like medicine for the soul, nishkama karma. And similarly, sympathy and love and compassion and empathy for others, these are all purifying means of purifying our consciousness. What do you mean by purifying consciousness? Removing the stains of ragadvesha which keep chasing us like ghosts. And therefore he's saying Vidvarahadi tulyatvam ma kangshihi. Don't aspire, don't crave for a compatibility with Grama Shukara, the pigs in the village, who love the dirt, the mud, and you try to be better. Why am I being compared with a pig? We might ask. And he's answering, look here, if you are saying, even after Atmagyana, you want to retain in any manner your cravings, your attachment to these worldly pleasures, you are no better than a pig. Therefore, he's saying, Sarvadhi dosha santyagat lokaihi pujyasya devavat. Now, what is at the root of all this sarva dhi dosha? Dhi is your mind. Dosha is all kinds of smelly stuff that is there in the mind, which creates tension and anxiety and tightness, and we don't feel that inner balance or harmony or comfort as a result of all these engagements in raga dvesha. So these are the dhi dosha, and when you have samyaktaya tesham tyagaha, when you actually renounce them, dust the whole consciousness, wash your house, have a cleaning exercise, throw them out. Then what lokaihi pujyascha devavat bhava. Respectable, puja as devata, like angels, like gods. If you are able to say goodbye to these dhi doshas, the impurities in your consciousness, then you become someone who is really adorable. He's saying Bhavan Tattvavid. Now you're talking like a Vedanti, so you are a Tattvavid, and Tattvataha Yadi Jnani Shat. If you're actually Vastutaha Tattvavid, you know what is Brahman, then Vidvarahadi Tulyatvam. Then what is that Vidvarahadi Tulyatvam explains? Grama Shukaradi Jantu Samatam Makangshihi. Don't try to be as bad or as good as a village pig who's all the time at the garbage yard. काम क्रोधादि अशेष बुद्धि दोष परित्यागात. When you are able to renounce kama krodhadi, craving and anger and all kinds of impurities associated with our consciousness, asesa buddhi dosha, these are not one or two impurities, they are innumerable weaknesses and frailties and impurities in our consciousness. If you are able to do parityaga, throw them off, wash the whole consciousness, lokehi devavat pujyascha bhava, and you get rid of the dirt and be respectable, adorable in society. Lok pujyatam apnuhi. You shall achieve loka pujyata. You would be adorable in society. Kamadi dhi dosha parityagena eva. When you have kamadi dhi dosha parityagena eva, tattva vidaha loke pujyata. Who is adorable in society, whom people respect in society. Those people are respected in society who are kamadi dhi dosha parityaga, who have said goodbye. Now, there was a beautiful, like a slight digression. In Delhi University, there was a PhD. I'm not being able to remember who it was. They was doing a project on gender, and they found a very interesting conclusion I read there. They found in otherwise very patriarchal societies where men dominate, they came across a few women who were single. They were not married. Maybe in some cases the father died, the daughter got a job, and she wanted to help the family. And in those cases, those women were kind of the chief. It's like a chief force in that house. She's the boss, and everybody bowed down to her, our younger brothers or younger brothers' wives and everyone. She was the boss. And they made a study, the kind of respect that she commanded in her village or in a village or in a family was radically different from the respect a, a lady who was actually married got in her family or society. There was special attention and respect for this lady who never got married, and they sort of made a psychosexual analysis of this behavior in the villages, saying that generally both male and female members, more so male members, hold those women with high respect who are not sexually accessible. So they cannot look at them as women because these women have denied any access as women. So they were kind of worshipped as goddesses and stuff like that. I personally thought, I mean, that was about 35 years back when I was in the university, I remember. So I think in retrospect, maybe 40 years back, in retrospect, I think it'll be interesting that that's perhaps one of the reasons that those who renounce, in the Christian tradition, you have these monks and nuns, and in our tradition, you have these sannyasis, sadhus. Among Buddhists, you have also nuns and monks. These are not ritual dissociation with samsara because of which they are getting respect, but essentially its ability to master a general human condition which is characterized by craving. And those that have sort of surmounted, who have defeated this power of craving, and they have been on the top of it, are the ones, therefore, who are adored. Therefore, he's saying, Kamadi dhidosha parityagena eva tattvavidaha loke puchyata. The root of the adoration and respect that these tattvavid, these jnanis, atmajnanis, the so-called wise people command, lies in their ability to have defeated the cravings and the desires which otherwise are all pervading in all parts of society. Ataha hi ऐहिक कामादीनाम अपि हेयत्वम heyata avasyam abhyupeya. Now, the Purvapaksha, that means actually the lower human mind, as I was mentioning the other day, was raising this issue that iha amutra phalabhoga viragaha. So, iha what he removes and he's saying amutra artha phalabhoga viraga. Swarga phalabhoga tyaga is viraga. But I can continue to do whatever I'm doing here. Why are you bothering? I'm not interested in Jivan Mukti. In that context, he was explained that Vairagya is not about renouncing your craving for Swarga Sukha. It also includes our renouncing the craving for these worldly pleasures because they are not something which fill us with light. They continue to sort of trample our consciousness with lower level, you know, inclinations and proclivities. So we are unable to go to the next higher level of Atmajnana. Therefore, he's saying Anyatha Loka Ninda Spadata Eva Bhavati iti Tatparyam. So there are two possibilities. Either you deserve puja, adoration, respect, or you deserve Loka Ninda, you know, uh, calumny and rejection and universal criticism. People will look down upon you. You choose what you want. You want respect or people disrespecting you. Etena ahika kamadinam api heyatvam avasyakamiti supratipaditam. Now he concludes, which he started long back in a few verses, saying, therefore, even your craving for the sansarika pleasures should be renounced. Now, ahika kama api tyajya iti uktam. Therefore, you should also try to renounce the craving for worldly pleasures. Tat tyaga asakya iti asankyam asankam upaya pradarsanena pariharati. Now, like for example, Bhagwan is asked by Arjuna, you are giving me all these long lectures and yoga and stuff like that, sir. He says, yeah. And you are saying they are very useful. He said, yes. But I don't see any possibility of my realizing them. And Krishna says, why? Why can't you do it? He said, by Chanchalami Mana Krishna, Vayu Riva Suduskuram, very difficult to control it, runs away. Then you're giving me long lectures, do pranayama and sit and do and this and that. I don't see any possibility. This mind is running around. What does Bhagavan says? Yeah, it's very difficult. Then he's saying there are two ways to do it, Abhyasa and Vairagya. And slowly if you do it, you can get it. It's not impossible. It's like a person who cannot jump into water and there is a coach who teaches you swimming. He tries to sort of persuade you, I'm going to be there so you're not going to die, then pushes the little child into water and the child starts flapping the water and moves his limbs just to survive, and slowly the coach comes in and tells him how to do it. First he starts moving his limbs and the then coach tells this is the way to do it, and then he learns swimming. Same way, it's very difficult to do it. The acharya understands it, that we have a lot of fear of not being successful in our endeavor for spiritual ascent. Therefore, it gives us confidence, saying that, look, why there is a very important step to be taken of renouncing the desires, because that is at the bottom of all spiritual sadhana. He tells that in the verse number 58. काम्यादिदोषदृष्टाद्यः कामादित्यागहेतवः प्रसिद्धा मोक्षशास्त्रेषु तानन्विष्य सुखी भव. What he says? काम्यादिदोषदृष्ट्याद्यः. How do I do kamanatyaga is the problem. Yeah. And how actually you can leave it? So he says, Kamadi Tyaga Hetava. You want to do Kamadi Tyaga, right? So you have to work on the causal aspects of this. What will help you do Kama Tyaga, renounce desires? And the teacher takes your attention there. So just imagine a situation. You have one of your nephews or sons or anybody, or any child in the house who is a bit obsessed with some other boy or girl. Yeah. And you know, it's every child is infatuation. Apparently, that boy or the girl doesn't respond to this child of yours. And the child, I saw a very funny scene. There was a boy who was barely 14 in a cafe in Delhi, about a decade back or even a little longer. And then the mom didn't know how to deal with her son. So somehow she managed to get one of her friends to talk to her son. So there was this middle-aged lady who would invite a little boy. I found he would be about 15 maximum. And then over that, that dinner, the aunt, that means mom's friend, was counseling this boy, and the boy was saying how he has been ditched by some girl in his class. He's just about 15, huh? These are problems of teenagers these days. And she was asking, and slowly, and she was doing a very interesting thing. So, okay, must be very good. So, what are the things she does, and what she does well, and what she doesn't do well? And so she does this, and you know what she was doing? She was trying to lift the boy's consciousness from a state of craving, which is essentially a state of obsession, to a state of reasonableness, and to bring this mind from a state of addiction or obsession or powerful infatuation with somebody. What is it? It's just a sick obsession with something, a certain pattern in which the mind is unable to break free and think in a novel way. It's a repetitive, it's a repetitive circle in which the mind goes and touches there. It's like a broken record, broken player, earlier those music players. So it'll come and hit that point, and then it goes another round comes, and so you see a repetition of the same line. Yeah. So this lady was trying to lift these little boys' consciousness to a level where he slowly starts seeing this. Okay, she's this, she's that. Yeah, yeah, she's not the perfect girl, by the way. I mean, I'm just obsessing about her. The idea was to introduce the Vedantic secret. Yeah. What is that secret? Dosha darshan. When a person is very upset with something, he has had a heartbreak, or he has left a job, or something he has left behind and is craving for it. What does the counselor do? He tells him what he doesn't miss, or he shouldn't miss, or what was troubling him, and he has now come out of it. Similarly, here the Acharya is saying, if you want to do Kamadi Tyaga, do you know what are the causal factors which helps you do Kamanadi Tyaga? Kamadi Dosha Drishtadhya. So, couple of other things that he adds by this word Adhyaha. So, first thing, whatever is kamya for you, whatever in your eyes appears desirable, are they having doshas? Are they perfect? Are they nitya? Are they going to give you the bliss that you're fancying? You're going to get it? No. Then, when you do this dosha darshana, he's saying this method is not something which I'm inventing for you. Bhagavan Krishna said the same thing to Arjuna. Idam sastram pramanam te. He says, no, because actually I'm not saying this. This is old sastra, age old. It was in middle a bit of, there was a bit of disturbance. So this yoga shastra was forgotten. I'm just repeating the secrets. I'm not inventing anything. Similarly, he's saying, Prasiddha Moksha Shastreshu, you can read the Agama Shastra, the Puranas, famous Puranas, look at the big Prakarana Granthas, look at the Upanishads, and these Shrutis and Smritis will tell you, Moksha Shastras will tell you that the critical thinking about whatever you value without any questions. Without raising any questions, you accept all this as very, very good. That is the mother of all problems. So, first try to disentangle your consciousness a little by raising a few questions. Be a little free and slowly break free. Prasiddha moksha shastreshu tan anvishya. So, you will look for them, explore them, know more about them, and then Sukhi Bhava, be happy. Why? Because you will be able to do Kamana Tyaga, Vasana Tyaga, and then you are going to be lighter and purer. Kamyadi dosha drishtya kamyani, he's explaining each word. Kamana vishayani ishtani, whatever is Kamana, and then Kamana Vishaya. You have desire. Desire for what? You want to go and watch a football match. Just imagine now this FIFA season has begun, and then there will be a lot of heartbreaks in your bedrooms or in your living rooms. So you are a supporter of Argentina, and by mistake, Argentina loses. Or there are people who are blindly pro Brazil. Brazil is not a great team right now. So Brazil loses and they have a heartbreak. Or those who are from the African Middle East region, so they're backing a Middle Eastern team. Or there are people who are backing so some Latin American team. So for the next 1 month, a lot of people are going to have a lot of emotional disturbances, especially those fans who are in India because these matches are during the night. And they start in the middle of the night and they go till say 7:38 in the morning. So one can have thoroughly disturbed sleep, watch all these matches. Hmm? And then sometimes you feel good, sometimes you have a heartbreak because your team is losing. These are all mental constructions. Kamyadi dosha Dishtadhyaha kamyani kamana vishayani ishtani. You think it's ishta because that is the desire. Subject matter is the object of your desire. Srak chandanadini. Srak is what? Phul mala, garland of flowers, chandana. Adini, srak chandana vanitadi in Vedanta say. So srak chandana maybe company of beautiful women or handsome men or people who are rich and powerful. Adi savadena Dveshyani anishtani satradini ja guhyate. And then anishtani and adisavadena. Then you have both ishta and anishta, both. So dveshyani anishtani. Who are they? Satradini, your enemies. Whatever, they don't give you any happiness, they bring you a lot of misfortune or put you in trouble. Ishtani anishtani cha ityartha. Both ishta anishta prapti parihara. You always want to have ishta prapti, anishta parihara. Teshu manaklesha karitaya. All these are at the root of all the kleshas we face in our lives. Kshayatvadi jiva bandha hetutva rupa and kshayitvadi jiva bandha hetutva rupa. And first thing is that whatever so-called pleasure, pain, whatever experiences they bring, they are not permanent. They are anitva. Number two, they bind us up. They put us in bondage. Yo dosha vidyate, whatever imperfections, weaknesses exist, tasya drishtihi parigyanam. Drishti means proper understanding. This is not plus plus. There are few pros and few cons, and you need to take a call. Adi savadena dosha darshana anantaram. After you have done a thorough analysis of it, tat pariharaya, in order to leave them behind, forsake them, kartabya yatna vaividhyadikam suchitam. There is not one thing you will do, there are many things you do. There are a few bad habits, you replace them with some good habits. So in the evening, maybe you are lazing or you're gambling with your friends. You then plan that I'm going to play something, I'm going to go on a bicycle ride, or I'm going to do a long walk. So you replace. one bad habit with a good habit, and then you go beyond the good habit to something even superior. Te kamadi tyaga hetah. These are the mothers of being able to say goodbye to kamadinam tyage karanani. So, if you want to successfully leave behind all your cravings, you need to cultivate this. What is this? Dosha darshana. Iti ayam angshano so kapalakalpitaha iti asayena. But this is not my imagination. I'm not inventing this. Shruti sammatam tesham tyaga hetutvam ityaha prasiddha iti. That these are mentioned in all these Upanishads that you find. Many Upanishads glorify it's important to detach yourself from samsara and its cravings if you want to, spiritually ascend to higher planes of realization. Upanishad Adishu Moksha Shastresu Prasiddha. They are well known methods, dosha darshana. Ataha tan doshan prayatnat anvishya. So you try to do some analysis, follow the Upanishadic advice and all the Prakarana Granthas. Savimarsham parikhya. What is that anvishya? Means savimarsham parikhya. Do a proper analysis. Should you be spending more time? Should you be indulging in them? And how can you withdraw? And what else you can do? Then you'll be happy. Tadvara tatyagena shukhi bhava. Kamanadi tyagena, you be happy. Tava mokshanandam apnuhi. Shukhi means what? He'll have a big car, a house. No, no. He will have that Nitya Sukha, Niratishaya Sukha, which is Atma Jnana. Nanu, Bahya Vishayakaha Kamadayaha Parihriyantam. It's possible to get rid of desires which have some object outside of you. Like for example, you want to play billiards with some friends of yours, so you have to drive a long distance to a place where you can find some mates who can join you in the match. Or let's imagine any other habit you have, yeah, which has an external orientation in it. Kamadi manorajye tukakshati. But what about those who are only mental things? They don't involve, I don't waste any money or time. I don't have to meet friends or spend money or time on them. I'm just doing it myself. What is it? Daydreaming. So what is the need of leaving it? So now why we need to get rid of monorajya, mental brooding and thinking, fantasies and daydreaming. These are also at the root of a lot of problems. He's explaining why in the verse number 59. त्यज्यतामेष कामादिर् मनोराज्ये तु का क्षतिः अशेषदोषबीजत्वात् क्षितिः भगवती ऋता. First half of the student's question. Tajyatam eva kamadihi manorajyetu kakshatihi. All right, I'll renounce all the desires. So there is a very mischievous boy. His mom says, I want to top. Okay, you want to top. So you have to stop all these bad habits. The boy says, okay. So you are not going out to play football. On weekends, you're going to work on your coursework. You're not going to do this. You're not going to play with pets for long hours in the garden. You're not going to do this. You're not going to take junk food. All that the mom says. List of 5, 6 actions. The boy says yes. The mother forgot to write. You also have to study. She only writes what he shouldn't do, and the boy stops doing it. What else he does? He's just lying down in bed. He doesn't study. Mother is again upset and runs to the son. You didn't open your books. He said, when did you tell me that? There were 5 conditions and I fulfilled them. I shall not go out. I shall not argue with anyone. I shall not fight with anyone. I shall not play with pets for a long time. I'm not doing any of these. No, but you are just lying on bed. So what? What is the problem? The answer to it is Asesha dosha vijatvat khyatihi bhagavatai rita. No, this is the seed of a lot of imperfections. What? That monorajya. Unnecessary, unproductive, thinking about something, fantasizing about it. Now, at the same time, let me alert you that on this monorajya, even earlier I have mentioned it, that it could also be a spiritual practice, provided you know why you're doing it, what is the purpose of it. There is something called lucid thinking, there is something called auto-suggestion. So, they say that, okay, you sit on a chair while you're going to sleep, you meditate, that you're achieving it. You haven't. But these are self hypnosis tricks that you're doing in order to train your subjectivity to embark on a process of engagement with something else. That someone may describe also as monorajya. But to me, that is positive monorajya. Monorajya means what is unproductive thinking about a few things you want, is daydreaming or fantasies, which have no relevance in one's everyday life. But the positive lucid thinking or self hypnosis, auto suggestions, even though they come close to it, they are radically different because you are actively doing it and there is a certain purpose related to it. Therefore, in this verse number 59, he says, Monorajye yatheshtam manasi visha dhyanena kshatihi hanihi asesha dosha vijatvat, because they are the root cause of a lot of imperfections. Sarveshang kamadi doshanam utpattehe karanam. First, you have dosha vija, means what? If you do not do dosha darshana, even in your Manorajya, you allow it. Then what happens? It goes slowly. It's like you read any book on anybody, if you're doing any addiction counseling to anybody, they say what happens to the guy who has come out of addiction. So what happens is he's sent to a rehab center or something, then he comes out. And then that thought of going back and doing it comes to his mind for fractions of a second once, and then he tries to suppress it. But if he doesn't engage in anything interesting, it will be repeated 3 4 times, and then he'll go there, and then finally he'll do it. But there is a bit of struggle in between. He can dissuade himself, he fails to dissuade himself, then he goes, and that's how the addiction repeats itself. It perpetuates itself. And the worst addiction is actually the addiction to samsara. A lot of people talk about addiction to food or drink or behavior and stuff like that. But all of us, in a way, are very much addicted to a certain way of engaging in life. So, how do you dissociate? You might go on a spiritual retreat, you might do something, and then it slowly comes back. So, the first moment samsara enters is, in fact, at the level of imagination. Therefore, he is now is explaining from Bhagavad Gita, quoting that famous verse, why it is so important to renounce it. This happens in the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Sita Prajnasya Ka Bhasha, and Bhagavan is explaining. Dhyayato Vishayan Pungshaha Sangastheshu Pajayate Shanga Sanjayate Kamaha Kamat Kamat Krodha Vijayate Krodhat Bhavati Sammoha Sammoha Smriti Vibhramaha Smriti Bhranshad Buddhinaso Buddhinasat Pranashyati. This is the 4 line vicious circle where a person undoes himself. There is a lot of talk in management institutes and coaching institutes, mentorships. There is something called self sabotage. A lot of us we have set a certain aspiration, then we work on a path contrary to it because we want to harm ourselves without knowing. That is called self sabotage. And the sansara is all of us actually do self sabotage because moksha is in our interest, sansara is not, but then we are obsessed with sansara. Therefore, Bhagavan dhyayataha vishayan pungshaha. So a person when starts the very first thought about something, sangas teshu pajayate, the first thought, one thought, then takes a certain shape, some attachment. Sangat sanjayate kamaha, then you want to have it. And then when it is not fulfilled, what happens? Kama unfulfilled becomes krodha. Kamat krodha vijayate. Then krodha is born out of that unfulfilled desire. And then what happens after krodha, the next verse which is not written here, krodhad bhavati sammoha. Person is deluded. He gets angry. Why this is not happening? Sammoha smriti vibhramaha. He forgets all dharma sastras. What is desired, what he should be doing, he forgets all that. Smriti Vrangshad Buddhi Naso. Then he loses his sense of right and wrong. What is appropriate, what is not appropriate. Buddhi Nashat Pranashyati. The person gets destroyed. Does he die? No. Pranashyati, what does it mean? He gets destabilized from his own aim in life or his own goal in life. The person, however, who stays steadfast in his search for self realization, that is in the next two verses in the Bhagavad Gita, Raga Dvesha Vivuktestu Vishayana Indresharan Atma Vasher Vidhe Atma Prasadam Adhigachati. He doesn't close his eyes. The Atmayan still goes to the market. He doesn't crave for anything. So Raga Dvesha Vivuktestu, this person who is free from aversion and craving, Vishayan, Indriyahi Charan. He still sees things and listens to music and looks at people, talks to them. Atma Vasher Vidhi Atma. However, his mind is in his control. He's fully in control of his mind, and therefore he's a Vidhi Atma. Prasadam Adhigachati. He goes towards fuller self realization. Prasade Sarva Dukhanam. When he gets that Prasad Atma Jnana, which is moksha, Sarva Dukhanam, Hanirasyo Pajayate. All the dukhas and sukkhas go. At the root of all this is that ahang bhava, ahankara mamakara. It goes. प्रयत्न चेतसो ह्यासु buddhi paryavatishtade. And then that kind of person who is always happy, his mind is fully stable and there is no jumping around after that. He has that quiet comfort about who he is and he moves forward. Let's look at the commentary. Vishayan Shragadin. Shrag is, garlands and maybe sandalwood paste and women and money and all that you include there. Vishayan Shragadin Dhyayataha. What do you mean by Dhyayata? Manasi Bhavayataha. When he thinks about it in his mind, Pungshaha Teshu Shanga Asaktihi Upajayate. You first think, then you feel attached. Sangad Kama Trishna Sanjayate. From this attachment, there is Kama Trishna, craving, powerful craving. I need to have it. Idam Meshat, Idam Mesha. Vifalikritat Kamat Krodha, Krodha Vijayate Sampadyate. But if he is not realized, you wanted to go on for a dinner with a person and you went to that person and that fellow, that girl or boy ignored you. You were super happy, no, you were very angry. Krodho vijayate. Dik pradarshana matram etat. This is only just to give you a direction. What exactly it means is not explaining everything in detail, which is there in Bhagavad Gita. Tatra ukta pranali sarvapi atra anusandhyaha. So if you are so excited, my dear friend, you may be able to actually look at these verses in the Bhagavad Gita and have a longer discussion. So we've just touched the timeline. I'll stop here because then we will be moving forward tomorrow. The whole chapter has another 9 verses. We will try to see whether we can finish it tomorrow. Otherwise, we'll definitely finish it on coming Thursday and graduate to the Mahavakya Vicharas. So I'll stop here. Do the Santi Mantras. If you have any questions, you can ask.
Swamiji, can you refer to that